Toxic partisanship, left versus right, us versus them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
All right, welcome everyone to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you being here. We're live on WYSL until 1 p.m. So that means that you, the listener, can give us a call and participate in the conversation. Give us a call at 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. Or comment online on A Free Solution, the Facebook page, A Free Solution, the YouTube channel, or the Kevin Wilson pages. I'm on there as well. And today, we have a guest on the show. We have Tim O'Connor, who ran for, Tim, I think you ran for Senate last year, and now you're taking a look at some of the New York State legislation coming down the pipe. But Tim, tell us who you are and what you're up to nowadays.
Guys, my name is Tim O'Connor. I'm from Otsego County. It's approximately 60,000 people. Central New York, Cooperstown, the home of baseball. That's where I'm from. I'm the chairperson of the Otsego County Libertarian Party. I did run for New York State Senate in 2020. Met a lot of great people. One of the things that we are working on in conjunction with the New York State Libertarian Party is we're developing a better understanding of legislation, okay, and how its drastic impact on our state and the people in our state can have either a positive or a negative effect. So obviously, we want to stand against what we're perceiving to be really bad legislation. Rich Pertel is the chairperson of the Legislative Affairs Committee of the New York Libertarian Party. And we've been working together finding some really I want to call egregious legislation. And on Cuomo's desk, guys, we have a very limited amount of time to respond to this, is the HEROES Act, what's called the HEROES Act. It's A2681B, and the Senate version is 1034B. You have a limited amount of time to reach out to Cuomo, to reach out to your assemblyman, to reach out to your senator, because this legislation has passed both the House and the Senate. And it's going to be a real problem for small to medium-sized businesses. We're talking, if you have 10 employees or more, you have to have this pandemic plan. The law hasn't spelled out what the plan is going to be. They're going to turn it over to the New York State Department of Health for them to write regulations. And basically,
you gotta love when they do that. Like our plan is to make someone else create a plan. You pass it, and then eventually someone will create the actual rules that we're going to have to live under.
Yeah, we're legislating by fiat now, right? We're turning over rulemaking ability to the New York State Department of Health, thereby bypassing legislative responsibility yet again. So basically, this law is a disaster. The goals of it are unclear. It imposes a unfunded mandate on our small to medium-sized businesses. Large businesses can afford stuff like this, I guess, but small businesses, 10 people or more, they can't afford stuff like this. There's this trial lawyer bonanza in it where you can get $20,000 from your employer if they don't follow the yet to be delineated regulations. It's a real problem. We do have a limited amount of time to convince Cuomo to let's say a couple more accusers come out and they just say, look, we'll back off our accusations if you don't write this legislation into law. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's something. Right. We need something to stop this train wreck.
Tim, you're being mighty cynical about this, but I get it. Governor Cuomo seems to respond to accusations with trying to gin up good PR. But it's called the HERO Act, right? So how could you oppose the HERO Act?
I don't even know.
It sounds wonderful.
It could be the fluffy baby puppy law, but the bottom line is that it's going to wreck small businesses in New York State. Yeah. I don't care what they name it. And they do a great job of that, right? They name a bad law, some virtuous signal kind of law, like name of, hey, let's save children and keep the sky blue. And here you go. So we're up against that kind of virtue signaling mentality in our New York State legislature right now.
Yeah, New York State, I think they used the HEROES Act for one of the COVID relief bills too. Because you're not opposed to heroes. Of course, you're going to do that. And so let's talk about what this actually does. Like the pro side of this says, well, this is to make sure that employees are safe in their workplaces, and anyone who opposes this is against workplace safety. Are you opposed to workplace safety, Tim?
I am not opposed to workplace safety, but we already have a regulatory agency that takes care of workplace safety, and actually that organization has improved its stances towards small business over the years. They've become less restrictive. They've offered opportunities to correct things before they devastate a small business with fines. So the HEROES Act, if you like the HEROES Act, it still stands that this version right now is dangerous to small business. Now, can it be improved? Sure. Can they make it better? But the bottom line is right now, again, and I want to emphasize this, and I apologize for being repetitive, but we have a very limited window of opportunity to convince Governor Cuomo that this law is a bad idea and it needs to be reworked.
Yeah, and again, right now, most of this has to do with COVID protections, right? They want to make employers create a whole plan to make sure that they have protections in place for any future pandemic, anyone with 10 or more employees. And again, what's interesting about this is, we have to think about, like, well, have we even figured out what we've learned from COVID at this point to have employers be informed enough to create an adequate safety plan?
Well, first of all, we kept stores and small businesses in the essential services sector open during the COVID pandemic, which of course is appropriate. We haven't seen them being these mass transmitters of the COVID-19 virus. And so I'm not sure that setting this up now is in any way appropriate. We've basically handled the pandemic to a point where we can handle the pandemic. We've destroyed a number of small businesses, a number of restaurants in our state, and this bill itself just ups the ante on chasing businesses out of New York State.
Yeah, and it's when we're looking at these types of regulations, it's not any one thing, right? Like if this were the only thing that a business had to do to be in compliance in New York State, not a big deal, but it's one more thing. You need to get your employees together and figure out, like, how to respond to, health and safety in terms of, like, viral outbreaks. Like, can they do that? Is it appropriate for them to do that? Should they be doing that sort of thing? And how? And as you said, like, the large businesses, they're not going to have an issue doing this. They have the resources for being able to do it. It's the small businesses, the ones who are on the margin, the 10, 12, 15 employee businesses that are going to have some trouble with this. And I happen to work at one of those too. Yeah. We're only like 12 people, but we would fall under this. Now we've got to create this plan.
And let's not forget that larger businesses also have legal counsel on retainer or actually on staff, right? Smaller businesses don't have that. They're not going to have the power to fight an attorney who's aggressively trying to get people money to line his own pockets. And that's with all due respect to attorneys. There's lots of attorneys that lean libertarian. There's a bunch of attorneys that lean conservative. There's a bunch of liberal attorneys that understand human rights and individual freedoms and liberties. But there are a distinct segment of the legal profession that does do this ambulance chasing, let's call it. The Disabilities Act is a prime example where lawyers were going around suing businesses for not having bathrooms when they're like in a mall and the bathroom facilities are a shared facility, and they're literally winning these cases and getting themselves money for almost fictitious victims of the law.
Right. I mean, like with any set of laws, you have to look like what's the intention of this? Is this a genuine effort to protect people who are facing problems in the workplace or being exposed to undue risk? Or does this create liability so that workers have grounds to sue their employers for, not complying with the law, even if that doesn't really do anything significant to make them much safer?
It won't make them much safer. And the other problem is that it's a virtue signal, right? We criticize people who just want to signal their virtue where we don't feel that their virtue is real. This situation of writing a law called the HEROES Act and then having it punish small business, and the goal is to protect people from airborne illnesses in the workplace. It just seems to me like it's just an extension of this constant narrative of virtue signaling that we're getting from our legislature.
Yeah. And when we come back, I do want to talk about like virtue signaling a little bit, because I want to talk about, because this does happen in legislation a lot, right? Like I think a lot of politicians and lawmakers want to feel that their intentions matter more than what they actually accomplish, right? So like as long as we're showing we're doing the right thing or talking about doing the right thing, that's more important than creating policy that solves problems, or maybe just leaving it alone. Maybe the government doesn't need to butt in this.
Well, as a libertarian, I'm like, just stay out of it. Just relax. We already have something that covers this. We don't need more punitive, virtuous legislation. Let's just let businesses be business in New York State. And you know me, that's my position every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, yeah. So when we come back, we'll talk about this. I don't know if our producer's still on. I was expecting to go to a break now. There it is. I know it's coming up soon. I don't want to start a new topic. All right, so we're again joined by Tim O'Connor, who's a libertarian from Otsego County. Get that right?
Otsego County, the home of baseball, Cooperstown, New York. Man, we're heart of Central New York.
Absolutely.
That's my story.
All right, we're going to be back in just a few minutes.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
When you've been seriously injured in a car crash, you need a lawyer who knows how to beat the big insurance companies. Call me and I'll take them on so you can focus on your health and family.
Car crash, call Salino. Salino, call Salino. 888-2020.
Main Street, Rochester.
A message from the National Police Association. It used to be that any able-bodied person would offer to assist a police officer in danger. Now, passers-by are more likely to take a video. There's a better use for your phone when an officer's in trouble. Call 911. Tell the operator where you are and what you see. Then, start your video to provide evidence later. To learn more about how you can assist law enforcement, visit nationalpolice.org. That's nationalpolice.org.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
A free solution.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We're here live on WYSL until 1 p.m., which means that you can call in Listeners, 585-346-3000. We're joined by Tim O'Connor, who's a libertarian from Otsego County. We're talking about some legislation coming down from New York State and things that we ought to look out for. And before we go back to the conversation, shout out down the line to our friends over at WACK out in Newark and WENY, the Patriot down in Southern Tier. Appreciate y'all listening here as well. And we'll get to a couple comments. We got a couple comments that are just nice things to say about Tim. Nathan tweet says, Tim is a fantastic advocate for liberty, and I'm glad to have him in my area. And John Morrissey says, hey, Tim, they let you on the radio. Freedom and liberty ring. So you got some fans listening today, Tim.
Well, that's awesome. And guys, that's part of the reason why I do it, that people do occasionally listen to what we say, and people are out there interested in what we're trying to do, how we're trying to change the future in New York State. John is now a resident of Florida, but he used to be a New Yorker. He's a Bills fan, and Mr. Tweedy has been active in the Libertarian Party, offering his assistance, offering his ideas, and he helped with my campaign. I mean, he's just a great guy, and that's the reason why we're on the radio, isn't it? I mean, we've got to help these people spread their voices too.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we need to talk about, how can we advocate for liberty and mount a defense from the biggest intrusions of liberty, many of which come from New York State. And we talked about the virtue signaling thing a little bit. It's a lot of politicians will try to do legislation that feels good, that seems like it does the right thing. They do this with the welfare state stuff. They do this with the HEROES Act, with regulations all the time. And that's always something to watch out for. And we talk about that on this show all the time. Like, don't look at what their intentions are. Don't look at what the PR is. What are the results of this law going to be? And
yeah,
if
the road to hell is paved with good intentions, Kevin. And I mean,
exactly.
that's not, it's a thousands of years people have been saying that. It's an absolute reality. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. And I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I think it was an important point to jump in on.
No. I wanted you to jump in. That's good. So,
right.
So that's something like I know you're looking out for. Folks like Rich Patel are looking out for. Libertarian Party's looking out for. Look at what the law does, not what politicians say it does.
Yeah, and I mean that's a real issue that we have to deal with, is that they do want to make laws to get themselves reelected. One of the issues is that they don't hear from their constituents enough, and they don't hear from them in a respectful manner, right? These guys want to know what you think about these laws, but the bottom line is that if we don't reach out to them, the 30 cat ladies that do reach out to them are going to basically influence all the policy in New York State. Does that make sense? Like, you've got to talk to your assemblyman. You've got to talk to your senator. You've got to make your understanding of the laws known, and you have to let them know where you want them to come down on it. And also, as a Libertarian Party, we have to present a threat to their security of getting reelected. That's one of our pathways to success. I don't care what any other Libertarian says. If we're not a real threat to run real candidates against these guys, we have to hold them accountable, and we have to hold them accountable that way. We have to be ready to run races against these guys.
Right. I mean, that's always like any third-party strategy, right? Like existing in a primarily two-party system. Like we are, the Libertarian Party can do one of two things: either like threaten to actually win, or say, hey, look, this is what we feel about this position, and we're going to try to convince you that that's the right position, and also it's going to help secure your spot if you take our positions. So
yeah,
there's another opportunity there. It's like, all right, go ahead, co-opt our position, sure.
Yeah.
If we change policy, that's what we wanted.
Absolutely. Look, the guy I ran against voted against Senate 1034B, okay? I'm happy that he did. The guy that ran against Thomas Daniel Queter in Senate District 52, a purported conservative Republican, voted for this legislation. And I can tell you right now, after conversations with Tom, he would have never voted for this legislation. It's an obvious train wreck. He has a disability situation, so he's very aware of disability law, and he draws a direct parallel to the trial lawyer bonanza that the American Disabilities Act was and kind of still is. So if you guys want to make change, you've got to reach out to these guys. You've got to know who your senator is. You've got to know who your assemblyman is. And so every year in New York State, the issue of New York State scaffold law gets debated. There should be, and I've talked with Tom Stebbins of the Lawsuit Reform Alliance of New York State. We did a live show together at my Tim for Liberty page. basically this guy he's like on the side of the angels, right? He's advocating for lawsuit reform in New York State, that he wants less lawsuits, he wants less of these grand payouts, and one of his particular areas of focus is New York State scaffold law. And to steal his thunder, I just want to be clear, this scaffold law costs New York State hundreds of millions of dollars in infrastructure every year. So when we look at why a bridge in for example, guys, in New York State costs $10 billion and a very similar bridge in Kentucky costs $4 billion. One of the reasons why it's so expensive in New York State to build that infrastructure is because of the scaffold law. And the scaffold law protects people. It offers kind of a double indemnity. If you get injured on the job, we have workers' compensation that's going to take care of you. If your employer's negligent, we have negligence laws that are going to allow you to punish him. But if you get injured by virtue of a gravity-related situation, in other words, if you fall from anywhere onto anything and you get injured, you get to sue your employer's general liability policy. So, as a result, general liability relatively inexpensive if you don't have laws like the scaffold law. So throughout the country, general liability is relatively inexpensive. In New York State, general liability insurers don't even want to write policies. They refuse to do it unless they get exorbitant fees. And again, hundreds of millions of dollars, guys, because of this law, goes to insurance companies, and they don't even want to write that policy. So think about what that means, right? If we could limit those payouts, these trial lawyer bonanza, and one industry in New York State that's doing pretty good is the trial lawyer industry. They get to sue lots of people for lots of different things. I don't think we need more laws. And again, with all due respect to lawyers, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, but we don't need more laws to make trial lawyers money.
Yeah. All right. So, well, two points on that. One, it to your point about like driving up expenses around like infrastructure building out. If you're ever wondering like how is it that like building a half a mile subway in New York City or building like a couple miles of road in New York State manages to cost 10, 20 times more than it does in any other like state, much less any other country. Well, this is part of the reason why, right? It's this set of laws that create a lot of upfront expenses to be able to even do this stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
other factors too. But.
Scaffold law is probably the number one contributor to our higher infrastructure expenses. I mean, the weather plays a role, the population density in certain areas plays a role, but one of the biggest things outside of our certain realities is the scaffold law. And if we can mitigate or minimize the impact of scaffold law, we will have cheaper infrastructure, less expensive infrastructure, guys. And I think we all got to see when our school projects to add a wing onto the school costs, again, let's use Kentucky, but 3 times as much as a similar school project in Kentucky. I mean, these are things that we can fix without actually hurting any individual, right? I don't want to think of me advocating against an individual not getting taken care of if they get injured at work. I'm a contractor.
Because I was gonna bring that up too.
Bring it up,
back
man.
on that a little bit. We only have a few minutes before. Maybe I'll save that for next segment. But because in this segment, there's another comment from John on Facebook says, let's not forget about unions ratcheting up the expense too. That is also part of it, John.
There's a little union thuggery going on in New York State, guys.
Yeah, if you have like the ability to exercise exclusive contracts and you're able to set the price that you want, then yeah, you're able to. I know. On one hand, yeah, you're getting maybe good rates for your workers, but on the other hand, we're spending a ridiculous amount of money to do basic stuff.
Agreed.
All right, so and listen, I do want to wait till after the break to be able to do this, but the other issue that we do need to talk about, you started to bring it up, is this law actually protecting people, right? Like if someone does get injured on the job, don't we want to make sure that they are able to get back on their feet, to pay their medical bills, do all this stuff? And so, how does New York State and how do employers like think about these issues kind of in a big way to make sure that we're not hurting people, that employers aren't able to just be negligent and let people get injured on the job and not have to pay for that. So again, we're talking with Tim O'Connor, who is a Libertarian from Otsego County, ran for New York State Senate last year, and is now working with the Libertarian Party of New York on watching out what legislation is coming down the pipe here. So, Tim, thanks so much. We're going to be back on a free solution in a few minutes. If you want to weigh in on the conversation, give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. We're going to be back in just a few minutes.
Listen for Dan Bongino afternoons starting in May. AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. Check out that full moon out there while you can see it. Clouds, though, will increase. Could be a shower overnight. Temperatures in the upper 30s, low 40s. It's a warm front that'll come through on Tuesday, so we'll start the day a little cool, a little cloudy. Maybe a brief shower, but we'll get increasing sun, a milder breeze in the afternoon into the 60s and 70s. A couple of showers in the 60s and 70s on Wednesday. I'm Rich Cornelia, WYSL.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Hello, I'm Alan Ginsberg of the A.M. Ginsberg Advisory Group. Hope you're coping well with the changes we've all had to make in day-to-day living during these crazy times. So, now that you've done all your projects, cooked every new recipe you have, and made your YouTube videos, ask yourself, are your financial plans and investments working in today's world? Is your family secure if you die or become disabled? Are the wills you made 10 or 20 years ago still valid today? Now may be the time to evaluate where you are financially and review your estate planning as well. We're available for appointments by phone or Zoom meeting, or we can meet in my office with CDC compliant procedures. Please give us a call, 585-377-4720, or check out our website at amginsbergadvisorygroup.com.
Securities offered through Securities America Inc. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Securities America Advisors Inc. A.M. Ginsberg Advisory Group and the Securities America companies are separate entities.
Spring's the thing at Victor Chevrolet, where it's easy to save and fun to drive your brand new Chevy. Get outside in the spring breezes in your 2021 Chevy Equinox all-wheel drive LS. Lease it for just $229 a month for 39 months. Or enjoy the versatility of a tough and roomy 2021 Trailblazer LS front-wheel drive. Lease for only $89 a month for 39 months. Or check out the 2021 Chevy Trax LS front-wheel drive, just $99 a month for 36 months. Lease the 2021 Chevy Bolt LT for $149 a month for 36 months. Or maybe you'd like to buy a 2019 Chevy Trax LT for just $16,990. MSRP is $26,645. So you can save almost $8,000 on this previous loaner vehicle. All these deals include factory rebates, incentives, and discounts. 10,000 miles per year, $2,500 cash or trade, first payment, tax, acquisition, and DMV fees due at signing for all leases. Tier 1 credit approval required. All deals end 4/30/2021. Find new roads at Victor Chevrolet, Route 96 in Victor. Visit VictorChevrolet.com.
If you're looking to market and grow your business, make new business connections, and give back to the community in a meaningful way, consider joining the Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce. We're the largest suburban chamber in Monroe County, and we offer networking, education, marketing, insurance, and advocacy. You do not need to live or work in Greece to join. Our members come from throughout the region. In short, we're better together, and together, we're moving business forward. Visit greecechamber.org or call 585-227-7272 to join today.
We're not meant to live life alone. At Brighton Presbyterian Church, we believe we need God and one another every day. Join a caring church family that values loving God, His Word, and serving others with humility. We worship together at 9:15 a.m. on Sundays at 1775 East Avenue in Rochester, across from Wegmans. Our gospel-centered messages are broadcast here on WYSL at 10 a.m. each Sunday. Find out more at brightonpresby.org.
All-Star Custom Apparel and Design is your local source for outfitting your team, employees, or customers and updating your logo, detailing your vehicles, signs, drinkware, and more. We will get your name recognized. Call 585-623-4000 to see what All-Star can do for you.
Red Wings Radio.
This is Josh Wetzel, voice of the Rochester Red Wings. Keep up to date on the Red Wings weekday mornings following the local news all season on the WYSL stations.
A free solution.
Welcome back to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you being here. We're live here on WYSL, which again, you can give us a call, 585-346-3000. We do have Tim O'Connor here, who's our libertarian friend from Otsego County. Ran for state senate last year, working on watching out for legislation coming on the pipe in New York State with the Libertarian Party. Shout out down the line to our friends over at WACK out in Newark and WENY, the Patriot, down in the Southern Tier as well. Appreciate you being here. And to our friends online, too. We're continuing to comment. Thanks for listening in on the Free Solution Facebook page, a Free Solution YouTube channel, and anyone listening on the Kevin Wilson channel, too. Appreciate you being there. All right, so, Tim, we're talking a little bit about scaffold law, and, I just want to bring up the counterpoint with that. Doesn't this help workers, though? Are you trying to say that employers shouldn't be liable for when someone falls on the job?
As I was trying to point to, and I absolutely agree with that point. I welcome that you bring it up. We have an extensive system that protects employees in New York State already. The issue with scaffold law in particular is that it's like a bonus payout. That's number one. They get all of the benefits of being injured on the job, which no one wants people to get injured. I never ever wanted my employees to get injured. No contractor that I know wants to have people getting hurt. That isn't really the issue. The issue is how much the insurance costs to protect against this specific law. And one other issue too, and I'll circle back around to how people are already protected. But one other issue too is that if there's a contributing factor, let's say these employees are getting high on the job or showing up for work otherwise incapacitated, and there should be some contributory negligence at least to the scaffold law, but there is nothing there that protects the insurance policy from an employee lawsuit. It's all, like I said, it's all bonus money. We already have laws that hold employers accountable for negligence. We already have workers' compensation that does in fact do a decent job of covering hospital bills. And I know that might make some people mad, but workers' comp is an imperfect system at best. But still, people still provide for people. Employers still want their employees to show up for work. People don't want someone facing a lifetime of a disabled situation or a lifetime in a disability because of something that happened to them at work, at least without their hospital bills being paid and some form of settlement where they get compensated for that injury. Those things already exist. Those things are already in New York State among the best in the country. Scaffold law adds this bonus payout for, again, anything related to gravity. So, fall off of a ladder 8 foot because you're drunk and high, and all of a sudden, not only do your hospital bills get paid, not only do you get a settlement for getting injured, but then you get to sue your employer's general liability policy for untold millions of dollars sometimes when it comes right down to it. And that is one of the things that is costing New York State taxpayers, hundreds of millions of dollars in infrastructure building and infrastructure costs. So yes, let's be sympathetic to people getting injured on the job. Absolutely. If we could dial back this general liability expense, perhaps we could even, bolster our workers' comp situation, because overall infrastructure projects become way less expensive rapidly. Does that make sense? Am I sounding like an unsympathetic libertarian who just cares about big business?
Yeah, you're just on the side of the capitalist and the big businessman, and you hate the workers. And no, I'm kidding. No, that does make sense to me. It's like it's we've got to kind of like unravel the talking points around this, which is what I want you to do and talk about like, well, what actually makes sense here? Are we making sure that any like negligence or injuries are covered in a way that, you know, doesn't leave people out in the cold, but also doesn't impose ridiculous costs on employers and taxpayers that make it impossible for us to, for government to effectively deliver on the promises that they say they will, right? Like, again, good infrastructure and whatnot. Not that, like, I always expect that, but, like, if they're going to do that and they're going to, like, take money out of my pocket, like, let's at least talk about ways in which we can make that a little bit better. Less bad.
I agree, and we can't ignore the like perverse I'm an economics guy. I studied economics at SUNY Binghamton. We can't ignore the perverse economic incentives of a law like Scaffold law, which says, hey, you've got to pay if people get hurt, astronomical sums for insurance, and then enter those businesses in a competitive bidding process. So where does the lowest bidder come from? Probably from the guy who is less concerned about his employee safety. Does that make sense? You can trade safety for production on some level in every business. And I think every contractor knows that, especially if you've ever worked by yourself. There's times when you're just looking at something that needs to get done and you're like, all right, I could set up my scaffolding, or I could just take this ladder over there and grab that piece of, you know, shingle off the roof and fix it real quick. So you can trade safety for production. And that, I think the scaffold law, because it's so expensive, actually trades safety for production. It probably encourages people to rush through jobs in a less safe fashion. Does that make sense?
No, it does make sense. Again, I come from a family of contractors. Like, I get that. Like, I get that temptation. Like, do I really need to do? I could just do that. It's fine. You know, I'll go get the thing. It's like,
I mean, and having lived that life and trying to make money and trying to keep customers happy, you know, there's those moments where, especially when you're working by yourself and your employees aren't there, and you're like, all right, I know I can fix that. I know I should set up better, but I'm sure I'm going to be okay. And then, you know, next thing you know, you're riding a ladder down the side of a building going, oh my God, I definitely didn't think this through, you know? So, and I've been there too, man. I literally have been there, which is, I survived it. I didn't get hurt, but I was lucky, you know? So no one wants anyone to get hurt. I loved my employees. I appreciated my employees. I appreciated the effort that they put out for me. But we still had to make production. So how do we fix that? And again, putting limits on scaffold law is a step in the right direction. Period.
Yeah. So that's a great point. And another comment from John said, you know, worries that like laws like this keep smaller companies from being competitive and out of the field, and bigger companies are able to, you know, deliver on those contracts more effectively. Again, you're able to scale it because of the barriers to entry.
Absolutely right. We write so many of these well-intentioned laws that are supposed to protect individuals, and yet what we actually end up doing, and as libertarians we talk about this all the time, whether it's big pharma or big insurance or big construction, they're in favor of laws because it does keep small contractors from competing, from entering that market. To find a general liability policy that will pay on scaffold law, a little guy's simply not going to be able to break into that.
Yeah, there's a term for it. It's called regulatory capture, right? Like that's when the big companies come in. They say, okay, please regulate us, government. Please regulate us. It's for our own good. But you know what they're actually doing is making it harder for competitors with fewer resources, fewer, you know, teams of lawyers on staff to jump in and be able to do this without either, you know, running afoul of the law or just paying all the money to prove that they were following the law, because that's part of compliance too in a lot of these cases, not just scaffold law, but in a lot of these cases where you not only have to follow it, you have to show the work and prove that you're following it the whole time, and that also uses up a significant amount of resources too.
Absolutely. It is by design. I don't think we can deny that, right? If you have a marketplace and you can protect that marketplace through purchasing a law or a regulation, at some point your actuary or your accountant is going to say, well, if we invest with this politician or in this law and get this law passed, Kevin and Tim can't just throw their pickup trucks and some ladders in and come in and compete with us on this capital infrastructure project. And I think That's also a contributing factor to the lack of economic activity in New York State. And guys, in Otsego County, we always have to take a look around and say, what is going on? We're losing population. We have houses falling in the ground. And we have politicians that are doing their best to answer those needs, but they're not quite meeting up with reality. And economic opportunity in New York State is a reality that we need to focus on. And when we see laws that limit economic opportunity, that threaten small businesses, at some point we have to take a stand. We have to push back against this. And guys, on the legislative affairs, the LPNY legislative affairs situation, if you know of a law that you want popularized either for or against, and guys, there's a couple laws that we actually stand for. Dave DiPietro wrote a law standing against vaccine mandates. We support that law, and we think it's important to find laws that we support. And if there are laws that you think that you can change or you want people to be aware of, we're here to listen to you and we're here to help with you. We're forming a coalition. We've worked with lots of people like Upstate United and the Lawsuit Reform Alliance. And again, we've got to give a big shout out to Rich Pertel for his nonstop activity in offering libertarian solutions to complex problems. So in the next segment, I got a couple people that I want to give shout outs to who I feel like are doing a great job helping try to make New York State better. Does that make sense?
That does make sense, Tim. All right, so thanks again for joining us. Tim O'Connor, we're here live on a free solution, so you can call in if you want to participate in the next segment, ask any questions, bring up any laws that you think that we ought to be paying attention to. Give us a call, 585-346-3000. Again, we're joined by Tim O'Connor, our libertarian friend from Otsego County, and we'll be back on a free solution in a few minutes.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Hi, my name is Ryan Bourne.
And I'm Danica Bourne.
And we're the owners of South Coast Tax. We would like to thank our Lord for protecting us from evil. Psalm 91 states, "He is my refuge and my fortress, for he will rescue us from every trap and protect us from deadly disease."
South Coast Tax are Christian-based tax accountants and attorneys who specialize in releasing bank levies, wage garnishments, and filing complex tax returns. We are the leaders in acceptance of offers and compromise with awesome results.
We are also a small firm who will treat you like family and not just a number.
Call us today at 1-800-TAX-1176 for a free consultation, and we'll take the time to explain all of the programs that you qualify for in order to allow you a fresh start.
In John 8:36, so if the Son sets you free, you will be free indeed. And one way we can achieve that is by being debt-free. So let us help you today. Call us at 1-800-TAX-1176, and together we can help achieve this goal by putting the IRS tax debt behind you for good. Again, that number is 1-800-TAX-1176.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whenever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A-plus Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
A free solution.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to A Free Solution. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today. Thank you so much for joining us. We're here live on WYSL, so give us a call if you want to participate in the conversation, 585-346-3000, or leave a comment online. And got another new comment from Steven. Just wave. Hi, Steven. Good to have you here.
Hey, Steve.
So the other piece of legislation we started talking about over a break, too, is rent. There's a whole bunch of... Tim, should we cancel rent?
Basically, New York State legislature is going to cancel rent, okay? So the biggest source of income for middle-class Americans, the biggest source of improving your community, providing affordable housing, is about to be on the chopping block in New York State, okay? Rent control and... it's becoming next to impossible to evict somebody. And guys, let me tell you, I used to own property. It was already next to impossible to evict somebody. You had to have a real case. You had to take real action, and it was really hard to do. So now we're going to up the ante in New York State. And guys, this one is a big, huge topic. We still have time to fight this one. On Wednesday night at Tim for 51, the New York State Legislative Affairs Committee, and again, this is the LPNY New York State Legislative Affairs Committee, but we have members from all walks of life, okay? We have a Republican member, we have a Democratic member, we have some other people that we collaborate with. So at Tim for 51, Wednesday night, we're going to do a broadcast live on Facebook where we talk about these things at about 8:30. Rich Patel will be joining. Emmy Dayton will be joining. And these guys have at least as much knowledge as me, and Rich probably has more. Like, he is an absolute genius. So we will be exploring and exploding this notion of rent control and what it's going to do to middle-class Americans who want to invest in their neighborhoods and make affordable housing for people, and how we're going to limit that ability, and how that's been a lifetime path to a moderate retirement or a moderately better retirement, and how New York State is just going to put that on the chopping block because people that own property and rent to other people are evil. Period. Yeah, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, like there's this left-wing notion, like, oh, if you are charging someone to live in housing, you're exploiting them somehow. Where and not thinking about the fact that I know there's crappy landlords out there, but a lot of landlords, they're just trying to provide a decent product, right? And
yeah,
money's got to go into that. You got to pay your taxes. You got to improve the property, make maintenance and repairs, all that type of stuff. Most people, it's a moderate source of income for the type of folks who are only owning one to a handful of properties. And the way New York State is structuring their laws, it's going to make it so if you want that faceless, massive corporation that owns a quarter of the property in your city to grow even further, well, let these laws pass, because that's what's going to happen.
That's exactly who supports these laws. They're going to love it. Your little neighborhood guy that wants to own 5 or 10 houses and build himself a future free from having a boss other than himself and the people that rent from him, he doesn't stand a chance. And one thing to point out, guys, the number one expense associated with being a landlord, a middle-class American landlord in New York State, is the property taxes that you are forced to pay, okay? On the order of $3,000 to $5,000 a year, before you maintain your place, before you repave the driveway, before you nail a shingle on the roof, $3,000 to $5,000 a year goes to your local county government. That is a huge amount of money. It's a huge percentage, and in lots of areas, especially Otsego County, it negatively impacts the resale value of the property. So let's fight the power. You know what I mean? Let's talk to our assemblymen, let's talk to our senators, and see if we can't at least stop this before it gets too far.
Yeah, and we've talked about some of the proposals coming down the way too. And part of it's challenging, right? Like, so like some of the New York state laws around this, they're like, well, they want to help people out who are impacted by the pandemic. But at the same time, right, small landlords can work through New York State's bureaucracy and also get some assistance to help those folks, but kind of your mid-tier landlords, what ends up happening is that the tenant says, well, I'm not going to pay because of pandemic hardship, and then then the landlord's like, well, shoot, I can't make my bills because I'm not, made of money. They're even the big corporations eventually run out if they have no income stream. And then, next step up is like, okay, these companies are going to start facing like actual collapse. You're going to have issues with finding housing because you have housing that's no longer being maintained because it's going into foreclosure. The rental prices are going to end up going up and putting more strain on the exact type of people that you're supposed to be helping.
We'll all be renting from the government eventually, or sooner rather than later if laws like this continue to be passed in New York State.
Yeah, right. I mean, like there are legitimately folks unironically like advocating for that. Like, well, let's just have the government build all the affordable housing. But, which is wild to me in the Rochester area because like the Rochester Housing Authority like has had so many problems in the last few years. I know they do some stuff that's fine and they provide housing for folks, but like I'm not sure why like there's the political will to keep like giving them more resources. I don't know. That's beyond me. But I know you're not like most of the folks listening to this don't pay attention to this stuff. But like Adam McFadden, our city council member, who's involved with that, and George Moses, and it's a whole thing here in Rochester. And like why trust those agencies to?
Yeah, you can have an automatic boogeyman, some profiteer out there buying up property who just wants to screw poor people out of their money and let the house fall into the ground. None of that is true. There's a certain amount of mythology that our current legislative environment in New York State is based on. And we've got to fight that battle. So that's why I'm here. I kind of asked, and hopefully you don't mind, but I got a couple people that I want to give shout-outs to.
Of course, yeah. I was about to say, we're getting down to the wire, so I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to talk about those folks. So you go ahead.
So Otsego County Libertarian Party has gotten actively involved in endorsing candidates, right? So we have a guy that's running for Hartwick town supervisor, and Hartwick just happens to be the town that we lived in when I was born in. And like so many upstate New York small towns, it's kind of seen its economic hardships. And Brian wants to run and change the dynamics that he's seeing being put in place in the town of Hartwick. Now he's a defense contractor. He's done really well for himself. He actively is buying. He bought an asset in Hartwick and he's fixing it up. It used to be a church and he's making it beautiful and it's close to the center of town. And now wants to serve everyone and he has creative ideas and solutions as to how to make Hartwick, New York better. And the guy he's running against wants to write laws that make sure people put their lawnmowers away when they're done mowing their lawn. And believe me, guys, the economic situation in Hartwick, that can't even be that important. There's so many more things that could happen before you worry about whether people are putting their lawnmowers away or whether they have a couple chickens in their backyard. Those things got to change. Brian's a guy that's going to change them. You already heard me talk about Rich Pertel and his nonstop effort on behalf of the LPNY, on behalf of Tioga County. Guys, I have a lot of friends out in Tioga. If you're in District 3, Appalachian area, you got to support Rich. You got to get out there and vote for him. If you want to find out more about the Legislative Affairs LPNY Committee, Wednesday night at Tim for 51 on Facebook. We're going to be broadcasting live. I'll be hosting. I try to keep things light and I try to make a few jokes. But we'll be talking about real issues. We'll be talking about this rent control issue and we'll be talking about our limited opportunity to convince Cuomo not to sign the bill 2681 1034B. Those things can help make New York State better. And again, as always, scaffold law. Every small business that wants to be a bigger business needs to take a stand against scaffold law in New York State. Anybody that wants lower infrastructure costs in New York State, you need to talk to your elected representative and tell them that scaffold law needs to be fixed. These things are hugely important. It's something that we can do right now. Your senators, your assemblymen, they never hear from people like us. They only hear from the disconnected few who are actually like advocating for, I don't know, new cat laws or something, all right? But they want to know that you understand the laws that we're dealing with and how they're going to negatively impact your county, your town, your state, and they will act on your behalf. They need to hear from more of us, right? One letter they think is 500 to 2,500 people. So if you write a sane, appropriate letter, they're going to listen to you, man. They really are.
The support. All right, Tim, thank you so much. We're out of time. I know you could keep going. I love it.
I love to talk, brother.
So make sure you look up Tim on Facebook and follow him on Twitter. He's great on there. We'll be back with more Free Solution on Wednesday. Larry Sharp will be in tomorrow, though, with a Free Solution. I'll be back on Wednesday. Talk to you then.
At Victor Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Anthony Drive off Route 96 in Victor, spring lease savings are big.